You ever watch your favorite anime that would take a break after a major arc? Do some filler, you get classic moments like Goku and Piccolo driving, or the alien arc in Sailor Moon. This is a filler episode, where everything is at play. And it's a special one. Think of it like the back of your comic books when the author pens a letter to his fans. Now, if you don't know, this is a very special episode of Nerds on Hip Hop. It's our 1 year anniversary. That's right, the Wilson and I uploaded our very first episode on Halloween 1 year ago today.
And if this is your very first episode, welcome. And this podcast is about the intersection of nerd, life, and hip-hop culture. We'll talk about Luke Cage, Custom Robo, Breath of Fire, Cannon Busters. They're all fair game. And if any of those names sound familiar to you, you have found a home.
I'm Victoria, aka Miss Old School.
And I'm the Wolves Den. And welcome to Nerds on Hip-Hop.
Alright, so this is our 1 year anniversary. We've been doing this for a year. This is pretty awesome. I'm happy.
It is. What would you say is like your first actual memory, either of me asking you to do this, you think?
Oh man, I think you kind of just pitched the idea to me and I was just all over it because, like, obviously I'm a huge nerd. I love hip hop. Like, if anything I can do to talk about these two things at the same time, like, is probably the best thing ever. So
yeah. I remember asking you, and I remember I was like debating asking you because this was in the back of my mind for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't have anyone to ask. I don't have anyone I can like show the podcast with, and I remember for a while we were talking for a while, and I was like, you know what?
Victoria's all right.
Victoria's all right, and so it's like. And I think the thing that works is that we're still, even though that we share a lot of similar tastes and so forth, we're still at opposite ends of spectrums.
Very
and I think,
so.
I know I've had like people were like, "Oh, what type of nerd is Victoria?" I was like, and then we try to break it down. It's like she is on a different spectrum. It's like I love the fact that we can bring like K-drama into this because that's an untapped thing, and it's. Yeah, I was like, I think about that. I think about that you have to listen to trash music for your day job.
Only sometimes.
To keep us relevant.
This is true. And also there's just like this whole different perspectives. Like obviously I come from the South, so I grew up around a lot of Southern music, which I love, and then just getting a natural affinity for more music up north and the West Coast. Just so, and then, yeah. So it's really, really awesome. I don't know what kind of nerd I am, though. I am definitely weird. But, yeah.
I think both that's important, but I think the other piece that's big to me, and it's shown itself over and over again as time has gone on, is that we're both just kind of excited to get further into nerd stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that, like, I think you and I have had our, like, comic renaissance this year, where it's like,
right.
so further deeper into this, and it's like, but because we're charting our progress for that and part of nerddom for the first time, we're just like, oh, we'll try this, we'll try that, and because you're the indie girl,
yes,
like, you can provide a certain different taste, and because I'm trying to go into the crazy continuity life of DC, and it's like,
Madness,
we can exchange that. Like, I think of like our comic book exchange that we've been doing.
All right, yeah, I still have your Batman comics, which I need to get to.
And I need to go through Monstrous myself. But it's like, the more and more I was like, I remember it's like, because you don't get to play video games as much as I do.
Right.
Even though I don't get to play them anymore because of this degree that I'm pursuing. And we do have, like, we're still, like, charting our progress in anime in very different ways. I was like, this is gonna work? And I was like, you know what? I think it is, regardless of, like, all these questions I had in my head. I was like, and we're prone to 4-hour conversations, so that's a thing.
That is a thing. I think we've both talked about this, where this is sort of therapeutic to us, where we kind of, like, have all these ideas about these things that we're consuming, and we have kind of a gateway to delve more into them and kind of talk about them and gush over them.
Yeah, I think it's cool to have, like, organized gush time.
Yes. Definitely. I think everyone should have organized gush time. Like, I guess that's what book clubs are kind of like. Where you just, like, you're reading this book and you, like, get together with a bunch of people and you just gush over it. Or you, like, trash talk over it.
think that's a good point. I think this has been just kind of a club, a two-person club for us to enjoy hip hop and nerddom, because it's quite. I mean, I don't know about you, but at times it feels like I don't get to participate in these things as much because of me pursuing some higher form of education. So it's like I have to be an adult and plan time, but it's like I have to plan those time, and it's like, oh, I finally get to get around to this because it's now a part of something I want to do.
That's so true. It's a planned playtime, but it's so necessary. It's so necessary. Because, like, with this, like, I don't know if this year, if I would have picked up as many comics as I did if it wasn't like, oh, like, I'll check this out. Like, maybe I can talk about it on the next episode. Or, you're like, oh, like, people are talking about this. Let me check this out and, like, get into this conversation.
Right.
Yeah, so it's been feeding itself, almost.
I think so. And did you have it? Like, as I said, I had all these thoughts and hesitancies. I was like, did you have any questions from your end when I first pitched it to you?
I mean, you kind of answered it because you were like, I would choose like, why'd you choose me? But it's like Victoria's all right. So I guess that's about it. That's all I need.
Seal of approval. Victoria's all right.
Victoria's all right. Done. That's all we need. But I mean, I guess our book club has kind of grown a little bit. Like we've gotten some listeners, we've gotten some questions, we got some followers, maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. I mean, I'm excited for like how many people showed interest for today.
Right, me too. So normally, we would head into, and on a normal episode, if this is your first time listening, we usually go into the nerdy stuff we've been consuming or the hip-hop artists that we've delved into, but for this episode we decided to change it up a little bit. Usually we do open up for questions during our usual episodes, but this one we're answering questions throughout the whole thing. So here we go.
So the first question comes from Nisha.
Nice. But yeah.
She asked, wait, did I pronounce it incorrectly?
A little bit, but it's fine. Naisha.
I'm sorry, Naisha. Forgive me. But she asked what our favorite anime is. So I'm going to let you go first. Because it's an easy answer.
It is a very, very easy answer. Anyone who knows me probably knows this answer. My favorite anime of all time is Sailor Moon. I should have said something different just to throw you off.
I was waiting for you to try to at least tell me One Piece.
Not yet. I haven't finished One Piece, so I can't say that yet. But it's a great show. I think actually if I had to choose a second, it'd probably be like Cowboy Bebop or Gurren Lagann.
Okay.
Yeah. So
One doesn't even crack to that era for you.
I can't fully judge it because I haven't caught up yet, and it hasn't ended.
If you were to only judge an anime based on your caught upness, like in a lot of other series, that's a fair argument. In 800 episode anime, that's not really a fair assessment to say.
What if it does like a Bleach thing when it just starts getting terrible?
I'm pretty sure you would have heard that about One Piece by now.
Well, no, I'm not saying it does, but I don't know how much longer One Piece is going to go on to. Like, what if it's a great 800 episodes, but then, like, the next 800 are, like, complete trash?
Do you really think that's going to happen?
It could.
That's the question whether it could actually. You think that's going to really happen?
50-50. 40-60. 40-60.
That's still very high. You don't have hope for that series.
I do have much hope for that series, but, like, anything can happen. Like, what if the creator doesn't make it, you know? What if he just decides to do something different?
I mean, what if you, like, in my mind, I'm like, unless you get 800 episodes of trash, which is highly unlikely.
It is unlikely.
I think that, but it's okay, it's fair, I understand. I mean, I get it, it's Sailor Moon. I've been trying to convince you that you're going to like other magical girl stuff better, because we've had this argument already.
Possibly. Yeah, we have had the argument. I don't know if I would. But yeah, no, Sailor Moon is it. I grew up with it. It hits home a lot. Like I've mentioned before that I really identify with Serena/Usagi. I think it's a great show that just has like hits a lot of different areas. Like it's feminism, it's love, it's romantic, it's funny. It's just a really good show.
And clones.
It's what?
And clones. I'm sorry, she spoiled the plot point and she made it sound as bad as a Spider-Man clone saga.
I made it sound awesome. A. B. You're just simplifying it. If you've watched Sailor Moon before, well, I guess maybe I shouldn't tell them. I mean, it's not. I guess it's kind of a big. I don't know.
It's a decent plot. Like, if it wasn't me, it'd be a big plot point. I'm just saying that the plot point is terrible.
That. Anyway, what's your favorite anime?
So I'm not going to do movies because I would list probably several Makoto Shinkai films, but the answer really is Tatami Galaxy. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to the simple point, it's like Tatami Galaxy changed my undergrad life, really. Life. If you, I'll keep pitching it this way, if you've ever felt like a malaise about life, like struggling to change life, during undergrad, and you're like worried about your future and thinking about if you made the wrong decision, buckle down for a week and watch all of Tatami Galaxy, and I can guarantee you the actions that you make after watching Tatami Galaxy will be different. At least that's how I responded. And I have never felt that vigorously about recontextualizing my life through an anime in that way, or at least it has never yielded the results that, like, oh, Marcus Wolf became way more social. Marcus Wolf did all these things. So, it has to be Tatami Galaxy.
That's deep. So, our next question comes from Donette, who asks us, what is the best Biggie song?
I'm going to go first because I'm going to admit that I don't have as a big connection to Biggie like most people do. And I think I've talked about on this podcast that I actually bought Ready to Die for the first time this year. Mm-hmm. So I've been still spending time on that per album. So the actual song I'm going to say is actually technically not a Biggie track, but most people listen to it because of Biggie verses, is Victory, which is actually on the Puff album in 97, which I forgot the name of the album. And Biggie's verses on that are great, and I think specifically he has this line is like, I'm like Mike. I perform like Mike. Jordan Jackson action like Jordan Jackson Tyson pick one action pat guns ridiculous like and what's funny is that I heard that line in 2009 and it was split by terminology. I was like, that line is tight. And then I heard someone is like, you know, that's a Biggie line. I was like, word. And then I've gone back and listened to the track. I was like, yo, that video is crazy. Everything about that is, yeah, that's a great track.
So, that's really cool. Mine is Suicidal Thoughts. Just because before I heard that song, I kind of knew Biggie only for, I guess, his more popular songs, like, you know, Juicy, Crush on You, etc., etc. And then I heard someone play that song for me, and it was just like, whoa, like completely different sound. And it really made me start to appreciate Biggie and his lyricism, because he's just like delving into this really serious topic and painting a really like amazing picture. Like he's really good. He's a really great storyteller, but just like that one, I really like remember seeing it and just like feeling what he was going through. And then just the end of the song where he just ends it with, I'm sick of talking. Like, it's just the perfect ending, I think, to a lot of songs. Any song, probably. Most songs. It's a really good ending. So, yeah. To end off with. Right. So, we have another song. Another question from Michael, who asks, so on the song Deadly Combination by Tupac and Big L, do we think that they're really in the same room together? Have they even met, or did someone just piece songs they did separately? I actually didn't know much about the song before, I'll be honest, but I did do some digging. It seems that it was definitely a separate thing. In the beginning of the song, there's some guy who goes, "It's a mix king," and then the Tupac verse is from another song. I forgot the name of it. So definitely something that was pieced together. But I don't know if they've ever met. I don't know.
I think that's relatively likely. I was listening to, it wasn't a podcast. It was actually the guys over at Hip Hop DX. They do a thing called the Breakdown, and they broke down the kind of run-ins between De La Soul and Pac, which means that he was in New York when certain things were going down. Talking about that's 93, 90,
Yeah.
right,
Well,
around Balloon Mind State era.
He's
De
definitely.
La Soul. There's no reason not to believe that he would not have ran into Big L, like Big L, De La Soul. Like that's, I mean, that there are different boroughs, but like the connection to be a part of that world wouldn't be unlikely to me.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Especially like Tupac. Yeah, he like was in New York for like a good part of his early career, so I could easily see them running into some similar circles, like you said. So yeah, so maybe.
But I think, as you said, the consensus is kind of that it is a piece together song.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, I think Tupac's verses kind of lend itself well for that, and Big L too. Like that whole Tupac duets tape is really dope just for that alone.
I feel so weird about like songs that are like unofficially mixed together, even if they're good. They feel odd to me. It's like it's not the official thing. Like I know that Biggie has an entire like I think it's called Born Again. And I was like, I don't even want to hear that. It's just not it.
Yeah, it depends for me. Like I love mashups, like especially when it's an older artist who like would never like they have like Alicia Keys and Tupac mashups or Tupac and Adele mashups where these artists, I mean obviously because Tupac may or may not be dead. No. Would never like collaborate with these artists, so it's kind of cool to see these two people come together in a way that we would otherwise not be able to hear. But it's good when it works well, I think.
I guess I'm a stickler for like official albums, not necessarily official songs. It's like this is a sanctioned album because it feels so. Yeah, we're not getting into that because our whole conversation of itself.
That's true. Because okay.
But let's go to the next question. This comes from Castrio. She asks, "Do you think trap has a place in hip hop, given the fact that there are so many negative connotations associated with it? And isn't Killer Mike just awesome?" I'll answer the second part first. Yes, Killer Mike is awesome. It's Killer Mike. And the more and more I've kind of grown to really realize how great he is at rapping, but I am not the biggest Run the Jewels fan. Like, at least for me, I have to be in a mood for it. Like, I'm not always in a run. Like, that is the most energetic, rawest hip hop that I hear on a semi-yearly basis. But it's like, I'm not always in the mood for that.
That makes sense. The first question, do you think trap has a place in hip hop?
Yeah, even if I don't like much of it. And I think that when you talk about the negative connotations associated with it, I don't think you could expect of hip hop not to deal with issues of drug trade involved at all. I mean, if I look back at my album collection behind me, I'm talking about like what Cool G Rap was talking about the same thing. Right. Even Wu-Tang was dealing. So it's like it's just the way that they approach dealing with those issues is different.
Yeah.
And I usually think I just don't like the trap sound a lot, and it's usually because a lot of rappers don't do anything with it. Like, part of the thing I've grown to realize is that if a rapper's gonna rap over it well, it'll work out even if it's a trap song. Like, it really comes down to that. I don't really get into the whole melody arguments where a lot of people kind of cite themselves of like the innovation of trap. I mean, maybe I'm just really not seeing it, but I don't really get into that conversation because I feel like a lot of people who are saying that aren't really people who are that deep into music to talk about melody innovation. But that's just me.
Maybe. I think I've heard that argument though from people who are a little bit more, but I think maybe it's been more me reading articles and kind of like saying trap is like this new thing and like they're breaking barriers or definitely being innovative. But let's go back. I do also think like trap has a place in hip hop, like whether you like it or not. hip hop has many, many, many different subgenres. There's some other ones I don't like, but yeah, it definitely has its place. I do like some trap though, not all trap, but I think it's good. It can be good when it's good, and it serves its purpose.
Right, like I've heard trap songs I like, so it's there, it's doable. Sure.
That is really surprising to me. I don't know why. And also, I agree that Killer Mike is just very awesome. Yeah. So I guess next question. Another question from Naisha, who's gave us 2 questions. So awesome, awesome. Thank you, Naisha. What artist album made you fall in love with hip hop? Brown sugar hashtag.
There are 2 albums, and I do. So either I'm gonna say Will Smith's Big Willie Style, because I would not even have waited to find a hip hop album afterwards without that being the kind of inception of the idea that I can like hip hop. And then College Dropout made me decide that hip hop is a part of my life forever.
Ever, ever?
Ever, 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 ever.
Sorry, go ahead.
So those is one of those 2 are my answers. I don't know which one to pick, so I'm gonna let you go.
That makes sense. I'm gonna go more with artist than album because I know it's Tupac and Rakim. I remember watching this VH1 documentary called "And You Don't Stop" where they played Tupac's "Keep Your Head Up." And before I did, I liked hip hop a lot, and I probably even loved hip hop, but I never felt a connection to it as deeply until I heard that song. So it was just like, whoa, just like it's the first time I really understood that like hip hop can like open your mind to like different ideas or like kind of bring these ideas to you or whatever. And then I think Rakim is really what made me appreciate like rhyming and skills. When I heard like I Ain't No Joke, it was just like, whoa, this guy is like using metaphors and similes and just like going crazy, like rapping. So between those 2, like those 2 things, I grew an appreciation for hip hop through those artists.
And I think that's a good segue to the next question.
Yeah, that's gonna be a doozy.
Victoria and I had to come up with a list of the top 10 albums, which we're assuming is hip hop because she uses the word old school and new school, and I don't usually hear that used for any other genre.
Yes.
And what we decided to do is that Victoria's going to pick 5, I'm going to pick 5, and we're just going to mix the list together, and that'll be the 10.
Fun.
So I'm going to let you go pick, you're going to pick one first, and we'll go back and forth.
Okay. So, of course, I mean, hands down, has to be Music Education of Lauryn Hill, because it's amazing. Just historically amazing. Great album. Lauryn Hill is legendary. I think this album kind of touched a lot of people. It's always going to be regarded as one of the like greatest albums of all time. And it's just like personal to me. Like I love Lauryn. Like probably would name her 3rd in this list. I think she was one of the artists like I fell in love with, but I didn't realize I was falling in love with hip hop when I fell in love with her album.
Yeah. I think my first pick on this list is going to be something I never thought I'd put on this list, but the more and more I think about it, it's probably right. It's probably going to be Big Daddy Kane, Long Live the King.
Ooh.
And I think about like the lyricism and the lyrical dexterity that he implemented on that album, and just how much a lot of those sounds really have aged well. Like I've been going back to a lot of like other albums, and they're even when they give you lyrics, it's a lot more darker and murky. His album is not seeped in that, and there are a lot of really great joints on that project. Even like the hip hop love song that he did on that, like, oh man, and the tracks like Raw is there, like, and you can know that the way that we look at rap is traced back to people like him and Rakim. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna say something weird on it because I know it's on your list, so I want to segue to your pick.
Okay.
I don't like the album that you're picking as much as you do.
Really?
So I would if I were to think comparing Rakim and Kane right now, I would say Long Live the Kane is better than what your next pick is.
Wow. So I picked Don't Sweat the Technique for Eric B. and Rakim. I do think I think that's a sentiment a lot of people have, to be honest. Like, this isn't a favorite of a lot of people who are fans of Rakim. They might pick something else.
Follow the Leader or Paid in Full.
Yeah, probably Paid in Full. I had a weird introduction to Rakim. So for me, Don't Sweat the Technique, like, has a lot of songs that I, like, grabbed onto quickly. Like, I love Teach the Children. I love What's on Your Mind. I love Know the Ledge. And, of course,
Know the Ledge is amazing.
Know the Ledge is amazing.
So don't think I'm, like, clowning the album, but I would have never really thought to throw it in a top 10 at all.
Yeah, I think this album does, for me, what I was mentioning before. Like, it kind of combined, like, Rakim's, like, ability for, like, being a really great lyrical rapper and Tupac's, like, giving you something to think about. Because a lot of Rakim songs are, like, just talking about, like, I'm the best, and here's why I'm the best, and I'm rapping this awesome because I'm the best. And this album, he kind of opens it up a little bit more, talks about a lot of different things. Like, he has his love song, he's talking about war, he's talking about, like, you know, passing down education to, like, the next generation. Know the Ledge, I guess, is talking more, like, about, like, violence and, like, you know, or not even violence, but, like, you know, how do you explain that? I don't even know. Like, I'm trying to explain without saying, like, going too close to the edge. But just, you know, not getting ahead of yourself, I guess, and not getting caught up in a lot of things that can get us caught up in trouble.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, so I think it's just, like, upbeat, it's fun, but it's also lyrical and conscious, quote unquote. Quote unquote.
So I guess it's my second pick now, right?
Yep.
Third
pick.
Wait, third pick?
Oh, wait. Oh, it's your first pick. I'm sorry. I mean, your second pick. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to go with, I mean, it would be unfair to do a list without saying Illmatic.
Yes.
And I don't know what I can say about Illmatic that has not been said, besides words rarely have been as precise and non-wasted on the album like he has on that.
That is very
That's all I'm going to say. Like, you're on a hip-hop podcast, you're going to hear the words Illmatic eventually, so.
Definitely, no questions asked. Which, I guess this isn't really a segue, but I don't think you can go through a list without College Dropout either.
You could.
Could you?
I think.
Maybe you could.
Let you finish? Wow, that was bad.
I'll let you finish, but.
Just go.
But late registration was a better Lemonade.
I literally can't believe I just did that. Just go.
So College Dropout. Kanye would be proud. Yeah, I just think, like, it was just I know a lot of people, like, it's an introduction to, like, great hip-hop for a lot of people. Like, it was sort of like a gateway album for other people, especially at the time it came, where we kind of had a lot of, snap music, a lot of ringtone music, kind of completely shifted hip-hop. So, game changer for sure, between this and The Cool. But yeah, for me, like, College Dropout was super personal, like, great album, great track list, like, every song on there, all the skits. It's a complete, total, great album.
It is, and there's a reason why, as I said, it's part of what made me fall in love with hip-hop. But since I already knew you had that, I can't pick that album.
Sorry.
So what I'm going to do is pick the other, like, major hip-hop album after Kanye, and that is Food and Liquor.
Ooh.
And all I can think of are I mean, you have, Kick Push, which is just a cool story in its own. You got Emperor Soundtrack. And then you got, like, American Terrorist. got there, yeah. There's too much on this. Hurt Me Soul. Hurt Me Soul specifically is forever the song that I never thought I'd hear a rapper pen. I was like, I never thought someone would get like that perspective. Like every time I hear that first verse, what is it? I used to hate hip hop because the woman degraded, but too short made me laugh like a hypocrite. I played it, I stated, but I only recited half. Like, and it's like it goes back to like Will Smith had planted the seed of me falling in love with hip hop, but there's a lot of like tension about whether or not I'd end up liking it my own. I remember like how I felt weird for falling in love with an album that had when I fell in love with Dropout, I was like, I hate the track Breathe In, Breathe Out with him and Lupe, like particularly because of like the same thing that Lupe was talking about. I was like, I never thought an artist would share that, much less on their debut album.
Right. Yeah. Definitely can't make a list without that. Probably, maybe not. I'm gonna go back a bit. We've been in the mid 2000s for a while. Midnight Martyrs. Tribe Called Quest. Why are you giving me that look?
I'm surprised because you didn't type it down, but I'm not surprised because it is Midnight Marauders.
Right. No, I was trying to think. I knew I wanted to put a Tribe album. I just couldn't decide which one. But I think this is it for me, just because like I love Award Tour. Sucka N-Word is great. Electric Relaxation. Hot Sex. Like, it's just like a really fun album. I think it does a lot of what it's one of Tribe's best albums. Like, I don't know. Is there anything else to say about that?
I mean, yeah. You could agree, probably. I think at this rate, with a lot of people, although I'm going to be a person who says I don't love people's instinctive travels. So I'm like, I'm not going to say that, but I know for a lot of contingency, there's a lot of people who would say that every Tribe album probably could fill up half of this list.
That's very true. Because, I mean, it was between that and the Low End Theory for me.
Right.
And, yeah. But, yeah, either.
How close was Low End Theory?
It was pretty close. I literally counted I counted the number of songs that, like, really impacted me, compared it, and I think it was, like, 10 to, like, 12 or something. Or maybe not even, yeah. So
fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
So that's back on me.
Yes.
I'm gonna say this, and this is probably, like, this is always in the argument for me for, like, favorite album ever, and that is going to be MF Doom's Food. I remember when I was listening to this album, and I was just confused about what is it about, like, the Doom persona that we like? Like, why do we appreciate him? And a lot of it took a long time for it to click, but the moment that it did, I was just realized there's no one who will rap like Doom. And it's particularly because he has this ability at times to go off and stay on beat. Or he'll just say certain things that is like, there's a song, Deep Fried Friends. And there are like so many quotables about like the friendship and how, like, what it means to really be close to people. And it's like, I'll never forget that. I'll think about songs that, like, get quoted now because of how things go on Twitter with rappers about, like, rap snitches, like, telling all their business, being the court, being their own star witness, see the perpetrator, yeah, I'm right here, like, and it's the most, like, there's a whole thing that happened with, I think, Bobby Shmurda, where you get sent to jail because of your own song.
Yeah. And
he was called out in 2004. Like, his lyrics, and like, he has a dexterity, he has all those things, but it's like, he's just very clever with the ideas that he comes up with. And I think that album, for me, I can consistently play all the way around. Like, One Beer, like, actually a song that describes being drunk in a more comedic, like, there's too many great moments on that album. So that's sure.
Sorry. I'm 50-50 on my last choice. kind of because I want to add something semi-new. So I'm between Blues Below the Heavens, which is actually an EP, or yeah, or a mixtape, not really a album.
It's an album.
It's
It's a
an
debut.
album. It is, yeah, it is. Um, or, and I hope this isn't your last pick, Kendrick, To Pimp a Butterfly.
I thought about that, but I had a strange feeling you would pivot to that, so that's not on my last pick.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna go with Kendrick. Well, I don't know. See, it's hard. It's so hard, but I think I'm gonna say Kendrick just because I feel like it held so much more historical relevance than Blue. Just because of the content it goes through, just because of who Kendrick is and what he represents. Plus, you have like the crazy like interview with Tupac at the end. Super ambitious, super like um, innovative. That word might be overused, but yeah. Then like I don't think there's really any song on that album where I skip. Like it's the same thing with Below the Heavens, but I can listen to that whole album, and I have listened to that whole album like through and through, like continuously, like back to back, for a while, and I'm still like I haven't revisited it in a while, but I'm not tired of it either. I just like have other albums. I need to listen to other music at some point in life. So I think
So, I think that's a good pick.
yeah.
And you saying that has made me feel tougher about what I was about to say.
What were you gonna
I
say?
think like there's an album that I was gonna say with the expectation of picking between that and To Pimp a Butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm stuck between two albums. I think I'm just gonna go with the other one, and I'll just make a notable reference for the other. So what I'm definitely gonna go with, because I think that I would be lying to myself if I didn't put it on this list, is Common's Beat. I think I would be lying to myself if I didn't give him.
I would too.
And you could easily pick between that and like Water for Chocolate, but I go back to Be More. I think about the foods all the time. I think about Faithful. The amount of times that I have thought about the track Faithful, either thinking about ever dating someone or B, thinking about my relationship with God. Like, yeah, that song. They Say, like, if I ever get tired of like modern Kanye, I go back to They Say Kanye. And it's funny because They Say Kanye is not that different from modern Kanye, but it's just better. Like, there's a lot of great moments on this album, and I feel bad for leaving out the other album, the album that I think gave birth to Pimp a Butterfly, which is actually, I think, is Outkast as Aquemini. If you really listen to the sound of Aquemini, I think that birthed, and it's not the only album that birthed it, but I really think when you listen to that and then go listen to Pimp a Butterfly, you can tell that Kendrick was listening to a lot of Outkast at that time.
It's funny because I was gonna name The Love Below. I was. Yeah. But I didn't.
Yeah, I was also gonna list Liquid Swords by Jizzle, but we would be here forever if we wanted to do every album that we think deserves to be on this list.
It's like almost impossible for a hip hop head to do a top 10 albums list. Like it is and it isn't, but I mean, even between us.
And you and I only had 5.
We only had 5, and between the two of us, I think we did a total list of 12 just now because we kind of like. I was like, yeah, it's Kendrick, but I also like Below the Heavens, and you're like, yeah, I like Common's Beat, but also like Water for Chocolate was kind of it too.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna go. So let's recite our little 10 that's here now.
Okay.
I'll go through my 5. It's Long Live the Cane, Illmatic, Food and Liquor, Food, and Beat.
I have Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, College Dropout, Don't Sweat the Technique, Midnight Martyrs, and Kendrick's To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah, and I think this is a good segue to my friend Peter, who asked us a question.
It is.
So he asked what my favorite Doom is, and we already talked about what my favorite Doom album is. But just to say, I've heard Food. I've heard of Victor Vaughn. I've heard Operation Doomsday, and I've heard Occult Hymn. I think there's another joint I made sure I heard. Mad Villainy, obviously.
Yes.
And I'm sure, as I said, my favorite was Food, but obviously Mad Villainy is not far behind. Tracks like Strange Ways always get quotables for me. There's another track off of Mad Villainy that's off the top of my head where he raps as Victor Vaughn, which is crazy in of itself. Like, that's when I started realizing how really clever Doom was to like be able to spit in different voices and go back and forth with personas that make sense. There's that. There are tracks like off of Occult Hymn, which I loved, which is that Sofa King, which is hilarious. Like, Doom is just so eclectic. I mean, there are guest verses all over the place that Doom's done. Doom's done stuff with the joint that he did with Royce and DJ Premier last year. The song that he did with Czarface. Like, yeah, I love Doom. Doom is, for all intents and purposes, Doom is, as far as I'm concerned, the best rapper of all time.
Well, that's that. No, I can definitely agree with that. Like, if someone said he was the greatest, like, I don't know if I could argue with them for that. But my favorite is Rhymes Like Dimes from Operation Doomsday. Favorite track. I've kind of delved into Doom in a weird way. I don't think I've listened to an entire album. I've kind of like skipped around songs, listened to singles here and there, songs here and there. Kind of like went down the YouTube rabbit hole with him. And then just like held on to like those songs that I really liked. But for me, I love Rhymes Like Dimes just because it's really funny. I think, but at the same time, like, it does like what he does usually. Like, he makes like something sound silly, but it's also kind of serious.
I think that's one of the most underrated features. Like, I think that's the thing that there's a lot of arguments about like as rated. A lot of like, I don't want to say new fans, but like newer hip hop fans don't get it. Part of it is that a lot of the humor, like, forget the technical ability. I think a lot of the humor just doesn't connect with them. And I think if you don't get the humor of Doom, you're missing out on half the fun.
I completely agree. Like, he's super clever and just really like funny at some point. Like, even like this, like Rhymes Like Dimes, like it rhymes. Like, even like you mentioned, like Sofa King, like just really, really good stuff. So yeah, that's mine. But our last question is, which is a great question from Lloyd. Which do you prefer to listen to? East Coast rap, West Coast rap, or rap from the South in the 90s? Actually, that makes it a lot easier. Oh, it kind of makes it harder too. I don't know.
So I'm gonna go first. I will just admit my East Coast bias up front. There's like, the more and more I've felt like studying and going back to hip hop greats, I usually, and it's not always, but I was like, when I think of like the most important albums of all time that people talk about and so forth, it always starts with New York artists. Mm-hmm. Like, whether it be people talking about LL Cool J, people talking about De La Soul, people talking about Nas, people talking about Cool G Rap, like, it is always this. I mean, you don't even get into the Biggie conversation. You don't get into Jay conversation. Like, when you start listing out artists that, especially if you're a person who likes to go do their quote unquote do their homework, like I like to do, it feels like the '90s gets a lot of descriptions. And it's not to say that the West Coast doesn't, but it's like, even cats who I know who love West Coast, they don't talk about Corrupt a lot. They don't talk about Rapscast. They don't talk about DOC. Guys who I was like, I'm planning to do those guys, but it's like, historically, they don't get mentioned as much. So it's like, I don't have an attachment to go back to them yet. Like, when I first started going back, because I always remember I would open This is literally what I did. I picked up the Kanye after I fell in love with College Dropout. I looked at all the featured artists. I looked at all the artists that were referenced. I was like, okay, I need to listen to Tribe. I need to go listen to a Quality song. I need to go listen to a Mos Def song. I need to go, like, I just kept on tracing the blueprint. And it's funny because his blueprint did not lead me back to Chicago as much. His blueprint led me to New York.
That's funny because, so I'm looking at our list now because I was like, like, what did we actually choose? And it's mostly East Coast and Chicago. That's actually all it is. Except for Kendrick, who's West Coast, actually. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I am also East Coast, I would say. For similar reasons, just because I think the most of the songs and the stuff that I love tends to be very East Coast. Like, especially like we're talking 90s, like Mos Def and Common and even 90s Common. Yeah, it's everybody.
And I've been working on my bias of the South a lot, but it's not relatively easy. So I bought I love Outkast, but loving Outkast doesn't mean that you love the South. They're not the only Southern representative people.
Right, because you also have Trick Daddy. Which,
let's not do that. Let's not do that at our celebration, please.
Okay.
Let's not destroy our celebration of talking about Trick Daddy.
You're right.
But I think back to last year where I bought UGK's Underground Kings, the double album that they released in 2006. And I bought the album because they have one song on here, but I was like, okay, the rest of the album has to be great, which is Quit Hating the South. Which, like, all right, fine. If you told me to quit hating the South, I'm going to buy your album and try to like the South.
Right.
And it didn't go all the way there for me. Like, I started realizing why people like Pimp C. I get why people like Bun B, but I didn't hear a verse there as I wanted to be like, oh, I'm going to start quoting stuff from that. Right. So, like, I'm going to keep doing work. I mean, there are other guys from, like, Devin the Dude down there. Like, I'm guaranteed that there's people there for me. I mean, you got Scarface. I mean, The Fix is a great album. But it's going to be a harder trip for me to love the South. I have a strange feeling that when I do more of, like, West Coast stuff, I'm going to like it a lot more than the South.
That's interesting. Actually, no, it's not. I guess, yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. And I think we did kind of, like, find an appreciation for the South, too, when we watch Organized Noise.
Yes.
There's also that aspect as well. But, yeah, I think outside of, like, Dre and Tupac and Snoop, which I guess is, like, big three, I don't know much about the West, as I should, as far as, like albums go. So It's like East Coast by default almost. Like everything else I kind of know more like singles or like a song here and there. But with the East Coast, I think I know more albums.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part to fix because I feel like we don't. And maybe this is just our problem, but I don't think a lot of new artists do that either, which is try to be like, oh, like I feel like there's been this rebellion against like 90s hip hop, but I really think what they really want to say, they're trying to rebel against 90s East Coast hip hop, which would be fine if they were like, nah, you need to listen to this West Coast album or that West Coast album. Like that's not really the conversation we get. And I think it'd be a lot more interesting if that's where this conversation went.
I agree. Yeah, because I think it is very much of a East Coast. Like you'll hear like the disdain for like Sugar Hill Gang or something like that, or like something else like, too.
Like when people say like I don't like that dusty music, they don't mean West Coast.
Yeah, they definitely don't. Like they'll still bump California Love,
right?
But yeah, they're not like messing with MOP or something.
Yeah, they're angry at Jeru DiMaggio. They're not angry at Snoop.
Who can be angry at Snoop though?
We're not going to get into that. But I want to ask you, like, do you have any like last words that you want to share with me or the audience?
Is that it? This is what? Is this going to be our last episode?
No, it's not our last episode. But like, this is our letter to the fans. This is like something we can share, and maybe, yeah.
forever and ever, ever. I mean, thank you for listening, and if you're listening, we definitely appreciate it. We love it. If you want to send us questions, always send us questions. I don't think I have anything to add. I mean, if more nerdy questions, if you want to send those if you want to send that our way, that would be awesome too. More hip hop questions, like we're always down to answer things.
Yeah, and I would like to just throw out that if you have ideas for other poses we can do, let us know. We've been trying to create a pool of like photos to replicate, and most people saw us replicate Stankonia. So
yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, if you seen that, I'll post it up in the YouTube caption or in the description. Just put a link to it, and you can see it. Our Stankonia. And if you have something else you want us to replicate, we'll try our best, and maybe we could do it. It'd be kind of fun.
yeah, so just like you, I wanted to say thank you to the listeners. It means a lot to us that you've stuck with us thus far, and through our terrible sound sometimes, and us trying to figure out a good, consistent release schedule, which is something that she and I are still working out, but doctoral degrees don't do themselves.
Neither do
That's all I can say.
journalism careers.
But thank you, and thank you, Victoria.
Thank you, Marcus.
Deeply grateful. And if you want to find us at the Wolves Den 25 on Twitter and Instagram.
Or Miss
Where can they find you?
Miss Old School with a K. Twitter and Instagram everywhere. Where there is social media.